Morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Mike's MMA Picks Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show, brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We're here for UFC Fight Island 5. Marlon Moraes taking on Corey-Sandhagen. Fight Island, 13 fights. 7 of these fights are expected to finish. Let's burn through this card. Let's get down to business, my friends. First fight of the night. We have Tagir Ulanbekov. You know I love my flyweights, 125-pounders, taking on Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva coming in at 6,900 in DK. Tagir, 9,300, Eagles MMA fighter. If you have watched his previous fights, you know that Tagir is battle-tested. He's fought in GFC as well as Fight Night Global. We've seen him on the feet. He has decent striking. I do have concerns about his striking defense. More of a grappler than a striker. Has a great gas tank. Is willing to go for position over submission in his bouts. I'm expecting a decision here over Bruno Silva, who has faced the likes of David Dvorak and Khalid Taha in his UFC bouts. Bruno Silva, 30 years old, also trains out of a great camp in Fight Ready. Though you look at his, not only his record, but his performances, he's come up short on a number of occasions and has been sparked out, has shown gas tank issues. If Silva's going to get this done, he's going to have to spark Ulanbekov early. I don't see any other way that he wins this fight. So give me Tagir Ulanbekov to take home the victory in that spot. At 29 years old, this fella is making his UFC debut, and I don't expect to see any octagon jitters. Next fight. Second fight of the night. Let's move on here. We've got Tracy Cortez taking on Stephanie Egger. Stephanie Egger, 7,200 plus 150 underdog. This line has closed significantly. Tracy Cortez actually opened as a minus 330 favorite. Now she could be had for minus 190. $9,000 in DraftKings for Cortez. Cortez also fighting out of Arizona here. 7-1 record. She's beaten the bottom of the barrel when it comes to UFC talent and Vanessa Mello. She does have a win over the highly touted Maria Agapova, who was she got destroyed in her last fight by Miss Dobson. So Cortez comes in here with a wrestling background, 7-1 record, 26 years old. She's more of a grinder than anything else. Don't expect much from her on the feet as far as stand-up goes. And Egger is a big, nasty chick, and she is coming in on 2 weeks' notice. She has a judo background, and women's MMA fights, sometimes you have an aggressive fighter who can pour on volume and lands a takedown or two, and then it doesn't take much beyond that to get a win at that level. In this spot, I'm very thankful to have found tape on Stephanie Egger and was able to take a look. She does seem raw at times, especially on the feet when she closes distance. This is going to be a grappling affair, in my opinion, and very closely contested bout. I would stay away from this as far as a wagering perspective goes, but I'm leaning Cortez here. I want to see a little bit more from Egger. I think the opening line on Egger was that they got that one wrong. But I'll be picking Cortez to win. Next up, we've got men's 145 pounders, where we have Omar Morales, who's typically a lightweight, is going to be dropping 10 pounds to take on Chikadze. Chikadze 10-2 record. But you look at Chikadze's previous career, where he was a kickboxer, 38-6 record with 22 knockouts, fought in glory for a significant stint of time. Both of these guys are kickboxers, though Omar Morales has a more well-defined, more well-rounded mixed martial arts game. Morales coming in at -165, 8,300 favorite. Morales undefeated. His kickboxing background, he's from Venezuela, and you can't find much tape on him kickboxing. So at range, you watch Chikadze's fight against Erwin Rivera, Jamal Amers, Brandon Davis. He was choked out on the Contender Series. Chikadze, younger fighter. You watch these guys fight. You watch their striking. Chikadze has the much more fluid delivery of strikes, much more defensively sound on the feet. Morales is more of a technical brawler in there. He's going to try to win on aggressiveness, and he'll put himself at range where he could potentially get caught. Chikadze has 7 finished victories. Actually, Morales has 7 finished victories as well. What I'm very interested to see is, now that Morales is dropping 10 pounds, he you watch some of the way he throws his strikes. I'm not sure if it's because of his muscularity, but he's pretty slow when he's delivering his strikes. I expect Chikadze to be the much more, the quicker fighter, down 10 pounds. I think we're going to see a significant speed differential. I also think the liver kick may be in play here. You got to watch out for Morales' low leg kicks. As far as teams and corners go, you have Sanford MMA for Morales, who helped him drop these 10 pounds. He did look great on the scales. Chikadze has King's MMA working with him and Master Rafael Cordero. I'm looking forward to hearing the sound when kicks are landed and you hear the hey. So I'm going to be leaning towards the side of the underdog here. I think this could be potentially a pick'em fight, and we've got Chikadze as +135 underdog. I want to see Morales prove himself down a weight class here. I'm concerned about the quickness difference in this spot. Next up, we head to the 135-pound division, where we have another fighter who's dropping 10 pounds. Tony Kelley, 6-2 record, taking on Kelley-Alqaisi. Alqaisi 8-4 overall record, 7,500 in DK, +190 at the betting window. Alqaisi, 30 years of age, has fought in the Brave promotion as well as Desert Force. Thanks to those who sent me fight footage of Alqaisi's younger days. I was able to watch his maturation as a fighter. Now, Kelley has fought in the regional scene, also has taken significant time off. This is another guy who has spent some time at multiple gyms, was at Fight Ready, was at Team Alpha Male at one point, and now has been working in Texas at Genesis and also in Louisiana. Watch Kelley's fight against Kai Kamaka. I was on Kamaka in that spot, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that Kelley showed up. And we cashed on Kamaka there, but Kelley showed the ability to battle through adversity. He showed poor takedown defense. He ate a lot of body shots, and I was very impressed with Kelley's dog mentality. So Kelley's coming in as a minus 230 favorite, 8,700 in DraftKings. He has the 2-inch reach advantage. He looked great on the scales, looked great leading up to this fight. If you watched his Instagram account, you could see the process that he went through to get where he is now. We're a couple of months removed from the Kamaka fight, and one thing, if you look on paper, it looks more of a grappler versus striker matchup, and it is to a certain extent, but beyond the poor takedown defense of Tony Kelley, he actually has a competent guard and a jiu-jitsu game to fall back on here. Alqaisi, you got to watch out for his nasty guillotine. He does have a nasty guillotine, and he seems like he's going to be the faster, quicker transition fighter if he's able to gain a dominant top position. The cage helped Tony Kelley big time in his last fight as far as his get-up game goes. In the larger octagon, that may be an issue here if he isn't able to shrimp and get his way to the cage to start working his way back to his feet. I want to see what his get-up game looks like in open space. I'm going to be picking Tony Kelley here. I think that he is not only the larger fighter with the much more refined striking game, but he also has that dog mentality. He's going to be there. If he doesn't get submitted early, he's going to be there in the third round, pouring it on Alqaisi. And you saw the big size difference at the weigh-ins. Also to mention, Alqaisi was the last fighter to weigh in. I think that says something too. Tony Kelley is my pick for this fight. Next up, we head to the 185-pound division, where we have Impa Kasanganay coming in with his undefeated record at 89. He's got 8,900 in DraftKings, minus 245 favorite, 8-0 record, taking in Joaquin Buckley. Buckley, 7,300 plus 195 underdog. Both of these fighters are 26 years of age. Buckley, a much more experienced fighter. Kasanganay wasn't able to get fights recently. He's fights out of a solid camp in North Carolina, and he has been putting it all together. Can look raw at times on the feet, but one thing I really like about Kasanganay's game is that even when he's under pressure, if he loses a round, he has this innate ability to adapt on the fly, and that's something you don't see often in young fighters with limited cage experience. And I really think we have someone special on our hands here in Impa Kasanganay. We cashed last time out against Maki Pitolo. On the Contender Series, he came in as a massive, massive underdog and came through there. Athletic fighter who, he's not a finished product yet, but I think it's enough to get by a Buckley who spams the same 3 offensive strike schemes. And once you get through that, Buckley doesn't have much to offer, especially if this fight does hit the ground, which it may or it may not. Buckley, another thing, he is, this fight takes place at middleweight. You watch the way he's built, and there's not much weight he can lose. He's carrying so much muscle in his pecs. This is somebody who really looks like they could, if they weren't built on that frame, he should be a welterweight fighter. He's got the height and reach of a welterweight, but he's not a very physical fighter when he's out there. He doesn't use grappling. He's not going to be hunting for takedowns. Give me Kasanganay in this spot. I think he just has Buckley's number, and Buckley's outmatched. Next up, we head to the heavyweights, where we have Chris Daukaus. The Daukaus brothers are back, 9-3 record. Philly Cop taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. Nascimento, 9,200 in DK, minus 260 favorite, 27 years of age, jiu-jitsu practitioner who has cut through opponents like a knife through butter. This fight's not expected to go to a decision at minus 465. Daukaus came in a little bit slim on the scales compared to previous fights, making somewhat of a quick turnaround. $7,000 in DK for Daukaus. Now, don't let the if you look at Daukaus's resume, you see a lot of strike finishes. You don't see any submissions over there. He does have a jiu-jitsu game that we don't often see. $7,000 plus 210 underdog for Daukaus here. This fight is interesting. The line here at minus 260, I do see this fight finishing. This fight's expected to finish, actually, you look at the odds there, minus 465 to finish inside the distance. Nascimento, coming from a solid team in ATT, has a reach advantage here. And I don't think that's going to come into play. I think this fight is going to hit the ground. I think the much larger heavyweight is going to come away with a victory here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen via submission. Next up, we head to the men's 185-pound division, where we have the always fascinating Tom Breese taking on KB Bhullar. KB Bhullar, Canadian fighter, undefeated, 7,100 in DK, plus 205 at the betting window. Both of these guys, very, very tall. You have Bhullar, 6'4", Tom Breese, 6'3". Always surprised me how Breese was able to fight at welterweight. Breese, 9,100 in DK, minus 255 favorite. This line actually opened and was at one point you could get Breese in the minus 180s, but now this line has since widened. Breese has been like a deer caught in the headlights at times during fights, and he's had mental lapses. I was on a podcast with Tom Breese a few years ago, and he broke down and talked a little bit about the cardiac irregularities that he was having there, and a few other issues in the lead up to his fights where he's had to pull out. He has Bhullar beat here in almost every aspect except for the mental game, and this is a stay away fight as far as a betting perspective goes. But in DraftKings, Breese has the ability to come out here and mop the floor with Bhullar. That is a possibility. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 130. Bhullar's a striker first, but does have a grappling game here. I think we're going to see a big-time strength advantage on the part of Tom Breese. And I'll be picking Tom Breese in this spot, though it's a pass from wagering perspective. You really have to question yourself when you see Tom Breese come in and he's the dominant fighter, has the better skill set, comes from the better camp, and then just poops the bed at times. Give me a Tom Breese though. Next up, we have a really fascinating matchup at 145 pounds, where you have a late notice replacement, Ilia-Topuria. Topuria, 8-0 record, taking on Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal, we know he's racked up a number of UFC victories recently. 8,600 for Zalal, minus 165 favorite. This is a line that has continued to close throughout the week. Both of these fighters very young, though I would argue that Topuria has a more refined game. Zalal, 10-2 record, is a bit of a wild man out there, likes to use his distance, likes to use his cardio, likes to pump out that jab. He has a great team behind him. Factory X, they're doing great things over there. Should have a reach advantage here. Topuria, I wasn't overly concerned after I saw weigh-ins about the size difference. Topuria came in and actually looked thick, and the height discrepancy wasn't obscene. So Topuria, you watch he's known as a grappler, but he can butcher fighters up on the feet. I love the way he sits down on his punches, is not afraid to go to the body, has knockout power, has shown resiliency, can chain submissions together, and really will go for the kill. Originally, I was planning on picking Zalal to win by decision, but then after watching the tape and getting to know Topuria through various formats and watching interviews and seeing how things unfold from a capping perspective, this fight isn't expected to go to a decision at -125. I think that we have some value here, and there was value to be had earlier in the week as well on Topuria. I like him as an underdog in this spot. My one concern is Topuria going to be able to corral Youssef Zalal, who is now in the larger octagon and is going to do his best to stay evasive and pump out that jab. If he gets into grappling sequences, the Moroccan Devil with Topuria, he could find himself in harm's way here. Topuria is a legitimate black belt, and that's what it comes down to me. I know that Zalal has shown some questionable fight IQ at times, and will overcommit in scrambles, and Topuria could capitalize on that. So I'm going to be picking Topuria here as an underdog to win. Next up, we head to the heavyweight division, where we have Aspinal-Baudot, 8-1 record, Black Samurai, 32 years of age, taking on Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, 9,400 in DK, 8-2 record overall. Look at that. He's a -655 favorite, and this fight isn't expected to go to a decision at -610. Aspinall has heavy hands. You watch his Cage Warriors fights, very impressive there. I have concerns about his gas tank and if he ends up on his back. It's amazing. His physique reminds me of one of Frank Mir's many physiques that he's had throughout his career. Is definitely carrying some extra weight as a heavyweight. Big guy. Baudot is a natural light heavyweight fighter who, don't let the record deceive you. Watch his last fight. He won that fight by DQ. Not very impressive when you're winning fights on the Japanese regional scene. And this guy's a judo fighter, he's fighting small opponents over there who are not as skilled and as dangerous as Aspinall. I'll be picking Aspinall to get this done inside the distance, and I could see him paying off that very high DraftKings price of 9,400. He's gonna have to knock down Baudot and also land some significant strikes to pull this off. Also, a submission is not out of the question here. Baudot, there are some big time question marks with him. So give me Aspinall to win. Next up, we have a really interesting fight where we head to the middleweight division, where we have Marcus Perez taking on Du Plessis. Du Plessis coming in 8,400, -170 favorite, has fought in KSW, another well-known organization's 14-2 record. Perez, 12-3, came onto the scene, fought Eric Anders short notice, and held his own. One thing I'll say about Perez is that he is a survivor out there, +140 underdog, 7,800 for Perez, 12-3 record. I really liked what I saw out of Perez during different stages of his UFC career. He's been in there with Wellington Turman, Andrew Sanchez, and others. But even when he's outmatched in certain situations, he shows some dog in him. At the end of the Wellington Turman fight, he was losing that fight, and he could have just wilted. Didn't do that. In this spot, Du Plessis is a finisher and has a solid ground game. Very dangerous fighter. All of his wins have come by finish, and he, although took a suspect loss early in his career, has the confidence that I haven't seen out of many new arriving fighters. He is planning to take that O from Marcus Perez and finish Perez for the first time in this spot. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at -150, and in this spot, Perez is very savvy, but one thing about him is he'll take big risks out there, and that's dangerous. I'm worried about Perez overcommitting and then putting himself in a very bad spot here, where Du Plessis is able to lock up a submission and give Perez that first O. I'll be picking Du Plessis to win in this spot. He's the larger, more dangerous fighter. Perez has some pretty jiu-jitsu, fights out of a solid camp, but he's a wild man in there, and I have difficulty trusting him. I was on Perez when he had the fight against Eric Spicely, that matchup, but in this spot, you're getting a young, hungry fighter in Du Plessis who's on the rise. I'll be picking Du Plessis to get the job done. Next up, we have heavyweights here. Ben Rothwell against Moraes-Sandhagen. Tybura 19-6 record. We saw he fought a undersized Max Grisham last time out. Well, Ben Rothwell is not an undersized heavyweight. He needs every bit of those 265, 266 pounds on the scale. 8,500 in DK for Rothwell. Rothwell is a plodding heavyweight. We know exactly who both of these fighters are. -155 favorite now. Rothwell, 38 years old, 28 knockouts. This is Rothwell's 51st career fight. He's taking on Tybura, Tybura is such an interesting fighter. 34 years of age, 7,700 in DK, +125 underdog. Has been sparked out against some the likes of Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, a few other, I believe, Antigulov. In this spot, I'll be picking Rothwell. He's gonna be trying to keep this fight at distance and pepper Tybura. Tybura, if he gets inside, he's gonna have trouble taking Rothwell down. Rothwell is a very tough guy to put on his back, and I just see the heavier plodding heavyweight come through here. Though Rothwell, we got to be honest with ourselves here, he is well beyond his prime. Give me Rothwell to win in an ugly heavyweight fight. This fight didn't need to end up on this card, which otherwise is a banger, and especially our next fight is a banger. We've got Makwan-Amirkhani, Mr. Finland, taking on Edson Barboza. If you know me, I've followed Makwan-Amirkhani's fight career since the beginning. I've been a big proponent of him in numerous matchups. Been able to cash with him against Jason Knight and a few other fights. I did stay away in the Burgos fight. I saw some issues there, but knew he would have some early success. In this spot, 31 years of age for Amirkhani, +220 underdog. He is taking this fight on short notice. That does need to be mentioned here. 7,400 in DK. On the other side of the fight, you have Edson Barboza, who I'm very familiar with as well. I had a play on Dan Ige last time out, and I had some big question marks about Barboza. dropping down a weight class. He did answer those question marks coming in at 145 pounds. He looked good last time out, put up a hell of a fight, and Ige walked away with that decision. Some argue that that was that the judges got that wrong, but I saw Ige doing some big time damage there in that spot, walking through punches, although he was knocked down a few times in that spot. Barboza, now getting up there, 34 years of age, so there's a 3-year age difference. Barboza has 9 more fights. Barboza has gone life and death numerous times inside of the octagon. 8,800 in DK for Barboza, minus 275 favorite. I don't see this fight going the distance unless Amirkhani is able to ground Barboza and hold him there for extended periods of time. Barboza, he's going to be looking to land those vicious leg kicks, and he's got to retract his leg after throwing those kicks because Amirkhani could potentially try to catch something and then put Barboza on his back. Though if you're trying to catch Barboza leg kicks and his body kicks, good luck with that. That's a very difficult task, and Amirkhani is going to have to walk through the fire to get in range on Barboza. This is a Amirkhani who outstruck Shane Burgos in the first round. The thing is, though, with Burgos, you don't have to worry about a kicking game from Burgos. With Barboza, he can come up top with the kicks and also can strike and use his hands. So this is a multifaceted, dangerous proposition for Amirkhani here. If he's able to get Barboza to the ground, a submission is in play. This is Amirkhani's one of my all-time personal favorite fighters, though we take that out of the equation here. I'll be picking Edson Barboza to win this fight inside the distance. I just think that the striking, the level of striking, there's such a huge difference here when it comes to speed, power, etc. And in the larger octagon, Barboza is going to be able to stay at range and really hurt Amirkhani. Amirkhani does have gas tank issues. This is happening on short notice. And Amirkhani, he is live for a submission at some point in this spot. If he's able to take Barboza down, he could lock something up. But I'll be picking Barboza to win. Next up, we have main event of the evening where we have Marlon Moraes taking on Corey-Sandhagen. Corey-Sandhagen, 28 years old, coming off of that quick loss last time out, 12-2 record. Marlon Moraes, 32 years of age. He 23-6-1 record, $8,000 in DraftKings for Moraes, plus 110 underdog. Now you look at the other side of the fight. Sandhagen for 8,200 minus 140. You're going to want a piece of this fight in some capacity as far as DraftKings goes. Both of these fighters are looking to finish at some point, whether it be Moraes eventually gassing out or Moraes finishing early and landing the hellacious leg kicks, the head kicks. He is live for a submission here. This is a very closely lined fight. I wish we got to see Corey-Sandhagen against Frankie Edgar. This is a much tougher matchup in this spot. Marlon Moraes is he also is one of my personal favorite fighters here, who has a well-rounded skill set. And I'll be honest, against Aldo, I was on Moraes in that spot. I did pick Moraes to beat Henry Cejudo out there, and I've seen throughout his career against Dodson, there's been a few other spots where his first round and a half he comes out in dominant fashion. That's a real possibility here that he could really hurt Sandhagen on the feet with leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks. Sandhagen, very rangy fighter. I was on Aljamain Sterling last time out. I saw that Sterling had the grappling edge in that fight, and also is a quick starter. And you look at Moraes here. Moraes is a quick starter here. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 205. I do like a few things about Sandhagen. That he fights out of Elevation Fight Team. He has a great camp behind him. He does have a huge cardio advantage in this spot. He's got length. He's very savvy when it comes to fighting at range and staying evasive. He's going to have to really, really work to do that here against a very dangerous Marlon Moraes. In this spot, though, I see after round one, Sandhagen really using his range well and bringing the fight to Marlon Moraes. He's got a lot to prove here, and I think we're set up nicely after round one for Corey Sandhagen to really step on the gas and put a stamp on this one. Very dangerous fight in round one, but I see Corey Sandhagen coming out. And one thing I will say, though, if Moraes is able to really hurt Sandhagen to the legs with his leg kicks, that could be something that pays dividends for Moraes, and he could potentially hurt Sandhagen and get him out of there later in the fight. But if Sandhagen comes out of that first round unscathed, I see Sandhagen really pouring it on from a volume perspective. And if this fight hits the mat, Sandhagen's very long. And even in the Assunção fight and the Alcantara fight, we've seen a few other situations where his length causes people problems on the ground and on the feet. So give me Corey Sandhagen to win. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Have a great fight morning. You can follow me on Twitter at MikesMMAPicks. You can check out my plays at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. Have a bunch of stuff up for tonight. And don't forget to go out and get what's yours, my friends. Your time. It's a great morning. We're banging this podcast out early today. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Take it easy, my friends.